Welcome to the Leading Conversations podcast, sponsored by the Excel Leadership Network. On each episode, JD Pairing will have conversations with church planting pastors and leaders from around the country. You can learn more about how to connect with Excel at the end of this podcast. Let's join JD now and listen in on this leading conversation.
Hey, welcome to another edition of the Leading Conversations podcast with Excel Leadership Network. Today, we are thrilled, exuberated, excited to have the great Dom and Allie Simmons with us. It's Dominique and Alexandria, right? But
Yes.
Dom and Allie, they are from Dallas, Texas. And we're so happy to have you guys here today.
Come on,
Yeah,
it's a
thank you
pleasure.
for having us.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
Now, where in Dallas are you?
So we are actually we're in Fort Worth. So
Fort Worth.
we're about 30, 45 minutes away from Dallas, Fort Worth. No, Dallas. We're in Fort Worth.
So is your church in Fort Worth?
Yes. Yeah, we're like at the very tippy top of Fort Worth.
The North Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
We're about an hour away from Oklahoma. Go down 35. You'll
Oh, wow.
We're 15 minutes from Buc-ee's and 45 minutes away from Oklahoma.
15 minutes from Buc. Hey, will you explain what is the deal with Buc-ee's? What is the draw? I've been to two Buc-ee's. They just put one in Colorado. I guess the largest one for about 15 minutes till they build a bigger one in Texas. You walk in, people are happy. I don't understand.
It's the restrooms. It's literally the restrooms. They have good restrooms. They clean. Somebody, as soon as one person walks out, somebody goes in there and cleans it so you can trust it is clean. No, but they have good food. It's a big place, so though it's crowded, it's still spacious. I think Buc-ee's got it right by being big and doing it right, but also being clean.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
I still don't get it. I've never seen I've never seen so many happy white people in my life walk in one of those things.
That is true.
That is not a lot of me in there, but it feels good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, the bathrooms are clean. Just crazy. So anyway, hey, tell us your story. How'd you come to Christ?
So I grew up in church. It was kind of just what we did. And, church was always a thing, not an option on Sundays. Even as we grew older, it was like, nope, the one thing you're going to do is go to church. And so I came to know Christ at a pretty young age. Definitely, just served and was involved in all different capacities, whether it was kids ministry or, greeting, whatever that looked like. In college, I definitely drifted away from that walk and, just kind of went on the partying scene and doing all the things. I think I had my freedom. So I felt like I could stretch my wings and figure out what this, crazy world had to offer. And so life was definitely pretty crazy for a few years and just not really walking with the Lord as closely. And then I actually found out that I was pregnant with our oldest daughter. This was before Pastor Dom and I met, but quickly became a single mom. And I think that was just kind of a wake up call for me of like, holy crap, I have to get back right with the Lord. And so just walking through being a single mom, going through domestic violence, just a lot of those things that was a wake up call of like, okay, I'm tired of trying to control my life and figure out how to do things. It's not going well. And so really just turned back to the Lord and got super plugged in a church, started, just finding community and small groups and things like that. And other women that had similar stories or were, just encouragement and accountability of being able to walk out what it really looked like to have a true relationship with the Lord. I think growing up, a lot of it was more dependent on like my parents or grandparents and, like they have a relationship with the Lord and they pray for me, so I'm good. And so it was really that moment of like, hey, no, who is Jesus for Allie and what I need in this season? And so, yeah, got my life back on track and just really dug deep into ministry and church. And that's what opened up the doors initially for me to go on staff at a church and just I knew I was called to ministry. I think I just ran from it really hard for a while. And so it kind of just hit me head on once things started to get into order. So, and then that's where we actually met in St. Louis on staff at a church. So,
Yeah.
Meet me in St. Louis, huh? Is that how it happened?
yes, it is.
I want to get back to the call, but first I want to hear Dom's story.
Yeah. So for me, I did not grow up in church. Kind of. I mean, my mom would take us to church when we were younger. However, there was, I remember very vividly, there was a time where, you know, there was a statement made at church on a Sunday, and my mom did not like the statement, so therefore we never went back. And I remember I was in third grade at that time, and we ended up moving to a different part of Fort Worth and started hanging out with the wrong group of people, in gangs, selling drugs, just making really terrible, bad decisions at a young age. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of high school that I walk into this church, a youth group on Wednesday night, and football was my love. Like anything physical was my love language. I loved fighting. I love all that. Like anything I got to do physically, I loved. And so football, I became really, really good at it. And I remember walking in with my friends on a Wednesday night to this thing that I got invited to about 100 times, but I always said no. But this is actually kind of crazy. My sister-in-law, my brother is married to the woman who invited me to church. That ultimately is the reason why I gave my life to Christ. It's actually kind of crazy. So in high school, she kept walking up to me, handing me flyers, and I would always say, "No, I'm not going to that. That's dumb. That's stupid. Nobody wants to go to this church thing." And I remember the last time she just handed me a flyer, had a pink elephant on it, and it said a chance to win $100. And so I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go."
Cash. There's cash.
Right.
And we walked in, like there was just Christian hip hop on, Lecrae and music. They had free food and there was games everywhere. And it was like, okay, this is it. This isn't what I thought church was like, the norm. And so the message comes on. And the message happens, and he preached the message. He said, "Some of you feel like a pink elephant in the room. Like everybody can see your flaws and your imperfections, and everybody can see everything wrong with you. But that's not how God views you. He's your father. He loves you. He wants a relationship with you. Now, mind you, I grew up with a single mom of 3 boys. There was never a father figure in my life for the early days of my life. It was always my mom's, and so to have this thought of a dad that loves me was like it intrigued me, and I remember started crying that night. Gave my life to Christ, and still dabbling in the things that I was dabbling in before, but there was just a little by little chipping away. I started rapping at the church I was going to, and writing music.
You're a rapper?
I mean, there's some videos out there. There are some videos out there. We won't go dig them up. We won't go dig them up.
Allie, will you send the links to that so that we can get
No
that
problem. Yeah.
The next Excel update, we need to highlight
Oh,
Dom the rapper.
oh, so we just rapped at the mix, and it was what we did at the church, and but we had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I remember our student pastor in my senior year of high school. We thought we were coming up for rehearsals because we always had rehearsals on Monday nights. We thought we were coming for rehearsals. He locked the doors, and he made us go through a different door. And we walked into the room, and there was a circle of chairs, and it was just a spotlight on those chairs. We sat down, and he was just honest with us. He said, "Man, it was a group of us, me, my brother, and some of our other friends." He said, "Y'all are living one way here and one way in the world. And so you got to make a decision. Either you're going to continue to live that life, or you're going to start living this life." And he took us off stage for 3 months. Didn't put us on stage for 3 months, and it was like, dang, like we felt the longing for what we normally did, and the taste of what we were doing was we no longer wanted that. And so I remember my mom moved, and again, when you're a part of the things I was a part of. You can't just there's certain criterias and stuff like that just aren't the norm to do. And so God just really had his hand on me in that season to pull me up out of that and to put me in a place and space where um, God got to cultivate something new out of me and in me. And I remember I went to summer camp and the Lord was like, it was beautiful exchange. And the Lord was like, hey, I'm asking you to take one more step. And I was like, man, what do you want me to do? Like I'm literally dodging people that I grew up with. I'm like, I can't go to certain spaces and places. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. God, what are we talking about? And lo and behold, it was to step into ministry. And I became an intern. And yeah, that's kind of my life story. Really, my senior years when I fully dove into what it looked like to be a Christian. But my sophomore year is when I gave my life to Christ. I remember getting baptized and everything. And so that's my kind of story.
Wow, those are both pretty dramatic. Hey, you both mentioned single moms, being raised by a single mom. Allie, you were. What would you say to single moms out there?
Man, I think, I mean, you're stronger than you think if you're a single mom. I feel like there's just it's almost like a superpower that you tap into of just the strength and determination, and letting your kids just become your drive for so many things. But it's so important to have Jesus along that walk. I mean, there's so many times that you're going to find yourself crying on the bathroom floor, and just these vulnerable moments of feeling so alone and isolated. And the questions of, what did I do to deserve this? Or what did I do wrong? Even if it's not your fault, if the other person chose to not be in the picture, but I think it's just clinging to Jesus in you know, in the most intimate and vulnerable way of just being able to open up to him. So,
Yeah. What's interesting is I'll share this funny, not at the time it wasn't funny, but now it is looking back. We were on staff at the church and the pastor of the church pulled me in a meeting and didn't really know my story. He just really hired me. I'm a student pastor, and he saw Allie and I dating, and he pulled me aside in his office and he said, "Hey, I don't think you should be dating her." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because she's a single mom with 2 kids. Who else knows her life story?" And it said some other things. However, he didn't understand or didn't know that I was a byproduct of a single mom with 3 boys. And the thought I had was, man, I wonder if um, he would tell my mom, a guy trying to date my mom, that's a good guy, if she was not worthy enough. And I think what I would tell single moms is you do deserve everything that God has for you. And I think that oftentimes it's easy to think that we don't, or think that we're products of a bad decision or a mistake that we made. But the truth be told, man, you're a part of God's story, and he's still in your life. He's still a part, like he still has a story and a plan for your life. And I think that you deserve it. And so don't run away or shy away from the truth that comes with being close to Jesus and knowing who God is and what God has for you. Because God, yeah, he has amazing things for you. You're his daughter. He loves you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing about that. Let's get back to, both of you kind of alluded to your call to ministry.
Yeah, I think I definitely remember growing up and probably in middle school, just having dreams of sharing my story, which at the time I didn't know what that was going to look like. But just, really seeing these visions of what the Lord was going to do one day. And I think at the time I was so young that it didn't really make sense. And then kind of as I grew up and having that season of running from just anything that was familiar, and really to do with the church, I kind of had just like thrown that idea away. I was like, it was just dreams when I was younger. It wasn't anything that was going to apply to the future. but really just having this moment with the Lord of, I remember vividly, it's probably one of the only times I can say, like, I know I heard the Lord's voice clearly. But he just asked me, was I done being in control? Because of how things were just looking, and I was crying out and like, Lord, will you change this? Lord, will you help me with that? And it was really just, I had to die to myself and surrender to him. And I think just in taking those steps of obedience, as uncomfortable as it was, it started to just pave the way to seeing how I was going to be able to help other women and just come alongside the church and ministry that I was a part of at the time. And doors just began to open where it was, they needed a front desk receptionist, and it opened an opportunity for my kids to go to a preschool, and different things like that. And so just kind of taking one step at a time, I think I began to see that calling unfold more and more. And where I thought I was totally unqualified, I had leaders and pastors in positions that were like, no, I think you're capable of more. Like, you're actually really good at this. Let's see, what God is doing. And so it was definitely just steps of obedience and God just continuing to show me, like, no, there's more inside of you, and there's more that I, want you to do if you'll say yes. So
yeah, for me, I never would have thought in a million years that I would be encouraging people to live in the way, the truth and the light of who Jesus is. And when I was at camp, and this one more step, it truly wasn't until I came home. And I remember, again, we there was this song that we had all wrote a verse to, and there was only 3 verses, but there were 4 of us rapping at the time, and we were all going crazy. And but we realized, hey, somebody got to sit out. And I remember I was the least of them all, and so I got booted and kicked off. And it hurt. It hurt. Like, I literally went back, and like I remember like my feelings literally being hurt. And but that same week, the student pastor says, "Hey, do you wanna host with me instead?" And I just lit up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll host." And so I did the announcements, walking in, greeting people, and they were like, "Man, you're really good. Like, you need to we need to do this." And I don't know, maybe it was a plot to get me off from rapping, like move me from rapping. But I just started hosting more, and then I got asked to speak at our student takeover weekend on Sunday morning. And I just remember the Lord like kind of impressed on me of like, this is where you're supposed to be. And so became an associate student pastor, and then became a student pastor, and then just had been running that for about 7, 8 years, and became a young adult pastor, campus pastor, then the outreach pastor, and just starting to see the fruit of what it looks to just be obedient. But for the first couple of years, it was hard and it was tough. But I think it was a lot of what's the word? Cutting, um, circumcision happening in my life. But the Lord was moving around. So that's the call. That's how it came about.
Well, I can relate to both of you because I I too have been kicked off a rap squad. So um,
We need those. Hey, we need
Right.
that. We need that
We need those
video. We
videos.
need that video.
yeah, that video. That's pretty funny. But I loved what you said, Allie, about are you tired being in control? Because I just remember thinking, you're trying to live this life and the best you could possibly do. If you did everything, it would be like a B plus, and God has this A plus life for you. Why are you running from him? So thanks for sharing that. How did you guys get to St. Louis? Are you from there, Allie? I mean, how did you end up in?
Oh, so my sister had actually moved to St. Louis a couple years before I had gotten there. And then when life had just gotten crazy and, I found myself as a single mom, she had offered for me to move, excuse me, move up there. Just really kind of for a fresh start of just getting out of the town and the city that I was in. It was a really small town in Florida. So it was kind of like everybody knew everybody. And I was just looking for something more. So I moved there with her for a couple of months and then got my own place, got on my feet and all of that. And so that's kind of how I ended up there. And then,
Take us something to drink. We're trying to fight through.
I know. I'm like, I got a frog in my throat all of a sudden. No, so yeah, so my sister was there. That's what initially brought me to St. Louis, and then found the church and everything else.
Mm-hmm. I moved there for ministry. I was, and I had just, I had gotten fired from a job in McKinney for not making good decisions. And I was just like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'd interviewed in St. Louis and back in April, but I turned it down. And then a year later, the position was still open. And so they brought me in as the student pastor at the church in St. Louis. And so and then we met, and that's where we met.
How'd you guys meet?
She tell the story completely different. I'll tell you right now, I tell the truth. She kind of jades it a little bit, you know. She kind of jades a little bit. So I'm gonna let her tell it, but then I'm gonna give the truth.
Oh my
I'm gonna tell the
gosh.
truth.
So at the church we were at, they would film testimony videos and kind of play those,
That's
after
true.
worship and
That's true.
like before offering and that kind of thing, of just life change stories that were happening at the church. And so they knew, I had been on staff for a few months at this point and kind of knew what I was walking out of. And so they had asked me to do a testimony video. So I was like, yeah, cool, no problem. So it was early one morning before the office opened. Yeah, it was very early. So, but there was a guest house on the property. So they're like, hey, we're going to shoot your testimony video over at the guest house. There's somebody staying there, but it's totally fine. Just go knock on the door. They'll let you in. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, not thinking anything of it. So I go over and knock on the door super early in the morning, like I said. And he came to the door, not so happily, like, who are you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this huge black dude like about to bite my head off because I woke him up, And so I'm like,
I was like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why are you
He
doing
was confused.
this? Like, what is going on? Now, mind you, they had just put me in a hotel close to the church that I had to move out of because they were like, it was just dirty. There was roaches, and it was just, I was already annoyed by that. And I don't have a place yet. I'm trying to find a place to live and can't find a house and but I'm still there working. So I'm in the guest house. And so I was already kind of annoyed a little bit. And so I was like, man, what in the world are you doing? This is early. It was probably like more like 6, 7.
Probably about 7:00. But
So
needless to say, he was very intimidating.
It felt like 3 a.m. in the morning. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then I ended up seeing her in the lobby, and I walked up to her and I apologized. I said, hey, I'm super sorry about this morning. This morning was not a good first impression. I apologize. And she was like, "Oh, no worries." And she had Braylon, our daughter and our son, Braylon and Keeson, they were playing, and I remember going in for service and sitting down, and I was like standing by her, and then this dude walked in and sat in the middle of us. So I was like, "Oh, all right, cool." So, excuse me, I didn't think anything of it. I was just, all right, cool, boom, boom, boom. And then couple weeks go by, and I made the decision that I wanted her to be my wife. So I kind of
In 2 weeks, you decided you wanted her to be.
no, a couple. It was like September. It was like September. It was like the end of September, and we had met in July, and she had walked. We weren't even talking. We weren't even anything. Like we were just friends.
And you decided at that point you wanted her
instantly.
Okay.
She walked through the lobby. She was wearing this pink, what is it called? Kimono. And it was just like, I don't know why the thumbs up we haven't, but she literally walked through the lobby, and I remember looking at her and saying, yep, that's my wife. That is my wife. And hey, 6 years later.
That was 6 years ago, or it took you 6 years to.
No, that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And listen, we close, and we when we make our mind up, we close quickly. Okay, we don't play too many games. There's not too much stalling.
Anything to add, Allie, to that?
No, I mean, I think it was just definitely a God thing of our paths crossing and, walking out of what I had been walking out of with 2 kids. That was definitely one of the things that like made me kind of notice him even more is because the kids were very like friendly and interactive with him, where most people, they were very standoffish, and especially men, they did not trust at all. And so I'm like, okay, why do you guys like this dude? What's the deal? And
Dom
so,
love the kids.
yeah.
What happened to the guy who was sitting between you?
Well, answer that.
Long
See,
gone.
that's he in a rug somewhere.
Okay. He's in a rug somewhere. Well,
No. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
okay. Well, we'll have to do some investigating. How did the church planting bug bite you guys?
Man,
I think that was one of the first things that we really discussed of, I feel like just kind of getting to know each other. Like it was already something that was on his heart from the very beginning. And so we had our first date was 6 or 7 hours long, like literally of just talking. And I mean, from that moment on, we decided that we were going to do this thing together. But there was just a lot initially that we felt like the Lord was doing in us individually. And then as we came together, it just kind of was like the puzzle pieces coming together of like, no, I really think the Lord is calling us to more in ministry, of not just being on staff somewhere, but eventually, starting our own thing.
yeah, and I remember. So we do this thing every year,
Mhm.
December 27th. Every year we'll sit down, and we have a kind of like a end of year,
Yeah.
like kind of like debriefing dinner meal or something. We'll go somewhere, we'll sit down,
Yeah.
and in that time, man, it's like, hey, we just ask questions about the year. How'd you feel? What'd you think? What'd you like? What you not like? What we need to change stepping into the new year? What do we need to shift? What are some things we need to take from this year to next year? And the last question is like, man, what do we think God's calling us or asking us? What step we're asking Him to take?
Yeah.
And we're supposed to both come to this meeting, kind of mid or dinner, with those things already answered.
Right.
And I remember the first time we did it, we sat down and we both had said at the end, like, what do we think God's calling us to step into? And it was church, to plant the church. And it was kind of like a cool thing to happen. I think we still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And but we didn't know and this was back in 2019. And so 2018 going into 2019. And so we had thought that where we would be a good place to send us. We thought that, man, this would be a cool opportunity. However, it did not work out that way. We thought the next place would be a place. I remember being on staff at a church, and I told the senior pastor like our dream, like what we believe the Lord's told us to do. And I said, hey, in 3 years, like this is not a today thing. And he didn't. That's not something he was wanting or willing or even necessarily in a season of wanting to do. And so we knew that it would be 2023, 2024 at a time. But we just didn't have a space in place that would develop us and pour into us, because really where we did ministry at for the most part, and again, I don't say this to be petty or I don't say this to be any kind of way, but I do say this to be truthful and honest. Church has become more of a competitive sport, and there's a lot of competitiveness in it that I think taints the truth of what it looks like for God to really use what He's trying to raise up and bring up. A lot of it, because we co-pastor, we don't look like a lot of other churches. We in the area that we pastor in. We are technically we're young, and so there's a lot of people that not a lot of people, there's just spaces and places we've been in that because we don't look like them or talk like them and sound like them, whether it's their agendas or whatever, and it may be, we kind of had to get it out the mud and figure it out.
So you launched I Am Churc. Where'd you come up with that name?
I'm working on a branding for our church. I'm working hard on this. Okay. So be praying for me. But it's Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, where God tells Moses, I am who I am. And basically our church is a place where we believe that, And we don't want people to have an encounter with Dom or Allie or the people in our church.
Yeah.
We want people to have an encounter with the great I Am. And so we named our church I Am because we believe that this is a place where God is going to be what you need him to be in the seasons you need him to be it. If and some seasons you need a comforter, he's that. He's your provider. And so it's there's a cool concept with the name of our church. Um, the one, it's the power of the name I Am. You see it in Genesis, but another time in John when they go to arrest Jesus and they say, hey, man, we're looking for this Jesus. We're looking for the king, the king of Nazareth. We're looking for this guy. And Jesus steps forward and says, I am he. And the moment he says, I am, they fall. They all fall. And the same people that came to persecute Jesus couldn't even stand against the name I Am. And we want to be a place where people know that they go to a church where we believe in the miraculous powers of who God is and what he can do, speaking the name, but also too, we want people to have ownership of the name. When you say what church you go to, I Am Church. You are embodying that what happens in the four walls don't just stay in the four walls. You are a product of the outpouring that God has delivered us, that's given us on Sunday, whether it's for worship, the word, and we want you to go and tell people, hey, take pride in your church. I Am Church. I go to I Am Church, man. And you are you are a part of the body, and so it's a cool, unique unique way we landed on it.
Yeah.
That's great. And if you don't like it, you'll end up in a rug somewhere. That's the
Right.
Hey, we know some people.
well, I know you. That's all I need to know.
Hey,
Right.
listen, I tell people I've been unsaved longer than I've been saved.
Okay. Hey, give us a leadership tip.
Man, I think in this season, I think something that the Lord is really dealing with me on is two things. One, as he elevates us, as he elevates what's happening around us, we should also be elevating how we just do things in life, in a sense of our level of maturity and wisdom and understanding and the seeking of the coaching and the reading in the Bible, reading books of knowledge. Like we can't walk into the next season smelling like the last season. There's a newness to what he's doing, and so we got to get ready and prepare for that. And the second one would be, man, dying to your flesh is good and necessary and important, and it should be something that we're all doing every day. Um, with that being said, guarding your heart, it should also be something that you're doing every day. As pastors, as leaders, it's so easy for us to get so caught up in the everyday that we expose our heart to things and we begin to get offended or hurt by the people we're leading or the things around us. And we strike the rock, and we begin to respond out of the pain and the hurt that's in our heart, and we end up being disobedient, or we end up not leading well, and we end up compromising in areas we shouldn't compromise. But it's not due to a lack of willingness. It's just a testament of being overwhelmed and man being hurt because people leave. People are gonna talk. People are gonna say things like things are gonna hurt. But if we're guarding your heart and protecting your heart, then you don't lead from emotions. You lead out of wisdom and discernment. Um,
Great. How about you, Allie?
I definitely piggybacking off that second point. Thick skin and a soft heart is something that a leader told me in the very beginning of us kind of starting this journey of church planting, and it's just stuck with me. You know, she's like, hey, people are going to come and go. Things are going to happen. Life is not going to always make sense. You know, you guys aren't untouchable just because you're stepping into being lead pastors and all of these things. You know, God's call is on your life, but you always are going to have thick skin and a soft heart. And I think that's just something I've continued to pray daily, of just being able to still have that tender heart and compassion for people and being able to see them the way that Jesus loves them, but also having thick skin to where when those rocks come and those stones and people say those things and it hurts, or somebody comes and they leave and you don't know why, or, you know, just all the different things. I mean, even on a personal side, just you walk out difficulties with family and what it looks like to be, you know, leading different lives, and sometimes people don't understand, but to be able to just have thick skin and a soft heart has really been a huge thing for me to kind of recenter and refocus when those hard days come.
That's wonderful. That's a really good word. So, hey, thank you guys. Thanks for who you are. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for sharing with us today. We believe in you. We're excited about I Am Churc. We don't have to be thrown into I don't need to go into any rug or so I'm for you. Dom, I'm really for you. So if you need some help, if you need somebody that needs to be put in a rug, contact Dom Simmons at Dom Simmons Rug Company. Yeah.
Hey, LLC, we need to go and get it official.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
It's a huge honor. Thank you for everything you do and how you move and how you do. Oftentimes you are sacrificially pouring, meaning there's no gain in return for you in what you do for not just us, but hundreds of others and pastors and leaders. And so thank you for believing in us, investing in us, and also being a place where those who are crawling can crawl too, and not just stay where they are, but be lifted up and encourage you, Pastor Paul, Pastor Luke, the whole team, everybody, man. Yeah. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining the Leading Conversations podcast. We hope that you found it both helpful and encouraging. At Excel Leadership Network, our focus is on the church planter rather than the church. If you'd like to find out more about us, visit our webpage at excelnetwork.org. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. See you next time with another Leading Conversation.